What's going on, everybody? What's up with you? It's your girl Fearless T, and guess what? Exodus 4. Yeah. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna summarize it and wrap it up like this. I have 4 points that stood out to me while I was reading this. And the first point we're going to see through the book of Moses. The book of Exodus, chapter 4. If you read through it, you'll see, and other things may stick out to you. But my first point that I wanted to point out is that we shouldn't make excuses and allow excuses and fears to not let us do or walk in what God is calling us to. We see in verse 10 of chapter 4, Moses said to the Lord, "Oh my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither before nor since you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech and slow of tongue." So what Moses was doing, he was allowing excuses and his fears to get in the way of his calling. And a lot of times we do that. I know I've done it. I know many of you have as well, but we can't allow those things to happen. And Moses eventually was broken by God. He had fears concerning himself. He doubted his own value. He had fears concerning God. He feared who God might be, and he wanted to know more of God's character and his name, and so that he could be able to confidently tell the people who sent him. And then he had fears concerning others. Moses then worried about how God's people would respond to him. He's like, well, I don't even know who to tell them sent me. And then lastly, he had fears concerning his ability. And Moses doubted himself both by his speech and his ability. And that's a lot of times what we do. We think about what people will say. We fear our own abilities or the lack thereof. And so God comes in and he breaks us of that so that we can move forward, just like he had to do with Moses. And with his willfulness broken, and ours as well, his fears overcome and his purpose reaffirmed, Moses finally placed himself in the hands of God. And that's what we have to do. We have to be in a place of brokenness so we can move forward in what God is calling us to. Second thing that stood out to me. First, let me say this. In verse 11, it says also, so the Lord said to him, "Who has made man's mouth, or who makes the mute, the deaf, the seeing, or the blind? Have not I the Lord? Then therefore go, and I will be with your mouth and teach you what you shall say." So I just wanted to point that out as well. If we continue to lean upon the Lord, he will guide us. He will lead us. He will make sure that he will be our mouthpiece and give us the words to say. So that's what I wanted to add in. Second thing that stood out to me, my pastor, he always say, you could go by hook or by crook. You could do this by hook or by crook. And every time he says that, I don't know, I crack up. But that's because God's will is always going to be done. It does not matter. His will always be done. As we see in verse 14, even though Moses said, I can't talk, I'm slow to talk, I'm not eloquent, God's like, okay. So the anger of the Lord was kindled against Moses. This is verse 14. And he said, "Is not Aaron the Levite your brother? I know that he can speak well. And look, he's also coming out to meet you. When he sees you, he will be glad in his heart. Now you shall speak to him and put the words in his mouth. And I will be with your mouth and with his mouth. And I will teach you what you shall do." So God will always make sure he's not going to just leave us out there. He's not just going to throw us out there and watch us bomb. He's going to make sure that we get out there and we're doing his will. And if he has to bring someone else along, as he did with Moses, he had to send his brother Aaron. If he has to bring other people along with us, give us other tools or resources, he will do that. His will be done. His will be done. Third thing that stood out to me, verse 18, it says, "So Moses went and returned to Jethro, his father-in-law, and said to him, 'Please let me go and return to my brethren who are in Egypt and see whether they are still alive.' And Jethro said to Moses, 'Go in peace.'" The third thing I wanted to point out is age ain't nothing but a number. I hear so many people always saying, but I'm grown. I can make my own decisions. I'm grown. I'm grown. Right here, he was an adult, but he honored and respected Jethro for being his father-in-law, for the things he had done for him. And he asked him, hey, can I do this? He could have easily said, look, this is what God told me to do. I'm out. Bye. Peace. Deuces. Whatever. But he didn't. He went and respectfully asked him, is it okay? Please let me go and return to my brethren. He let him know what he was doing. He just didn't say, well, I'm out. I could do what I want to. And we have to realize that just because we may be adults, just because we are grown, we have others that are over us. We have others, like with me, I have people that are over me that I don't have to answer to them like, I'm they're my master and I'm the slave. It's nothing like that, but it's just out of respect. Hey, and even people that are not older than me, but I respect in my walk, I let them know what I'm doing. One, I need accountability. Two, it's out of just respect for their place in my life. So we have to realize that. We have to remember that. Hey, young people, remember that. You ain't too grown that you can't report to whoever. All right. Lastly, I just wanted to point out as well, when God is calling us, this is my fourth point. When God is calling us to do something, we need to make sure, even in our excitement or our anxiousness or our nervousness, we have to make sure that we're doing and we follow everything that we are supposed to do before we go out and do what he called us to. As we see here, in verse 24, it says, and it came to pass on the way at the encampment that the Lord met him and sought to kill him. Then Zipporah, this is his wife, took a sharp stone and cut off the foreskin of her son and cast it at Moses' feet and said, surely you are a husband of blood to me. Now, I know people probably like, what happened here? He's just doing what God called him to. Yeah, he was doing what God has called him to. However, he missed one important point, and that is the covenant between him and God, which is in Genesis with Abraham and Isaac, and what God had Abraham do with the men, which was to show the covenant with the circumcision. And Moses had not done that, and God was seeking to kill him. And Zipporah was like, hey, look, man, you're already trying to get out here and leading these people and all this here. And she gets mad and she just cuts it. Even though she saves her husband from death, she did it in a very just a negative way, if you may. But number 4, the point is, in our quickness to do what God is calling us to, we got to make sure that we follow everything that he's called us to do, everything that we're supposed to do before we jump out there. So yeah, those are the 4 points I just wanted to bring to you guys. 1, no excuses, no fears. 2, by hook or by crook, we're going to do what God calls us to do. Number 3, look at there. I'm so excited. I forget. Number 3, God will provide for us. Number 4, make sure that we're doing everything that he tells us to. All right. I thank y'all so much for tuning in again to a quick recap of Exodus, the life of Moses. All right. I love y'all. I hope y'all have a great day.